Welcome to Main Street Mavericks, celebrating conversations with exceptional Main Street businesses who serve friends and neighbors in your community. Here's your host, Joel Helfer.
Good morning. This is Joel Helfer of Main Street Mavericks Radio. And today we have a very special guest named Jerry Luciano. And Jerry Luciano is a successful executive, consultant, author, and entrepreneur, and has built and helped other business owners build many multi-million-dollar businesses. And he specializes working with legal physicians and other professional practices and even high-level general contractors, helping them do their marketing so they can concentrate on making money and have freedom to enjoy it. The name of his website is the AZ Web Guy. Jerry, welcome to the show, and thank you very much. We're happy to have you.
Joel, I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure, and I know one of your specialties is lead generations for attorneys. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about that and how you help them.
Well, Joel, attorneys are in a very competitive marketplace. I mean, the argument can be made that every business is competitive, but with any type of professional level business that requires a great deal of schooling, a great deal of learning and education, certification, licensing, right? You're competing for business against everyone else that basically has the same training and the same desires as you. Right? So every personal injury attorney wants to get more personal injury clients. Every, attorney that does estate planning wants to do more wills, trusts, and, probate cases. The issue that attorneys have is that every year, every law school in the country, right, goes and matriculates another class of attorneys that all come in, and they come into the same market as the people that have been there for years and years and years, and they hack away at pieces of the pie. So what I do is I help attorneys to, one, cut through the chatter that's out there and position themselves as an expert in their field. I also, two, help them to be found prominently when people search for what they do rather than who they are. And the third main thing that I do is I help them with their techniques in converting those customers, or those prospects rather, to paying clients. And the reason I got started in this business was I actually grew up in a small business. Right? I grew up in a local business. And my family had restaurants. They had a contracting, general contracting business. Mm-hmm. So I know from the inside what struggles business owners go through. I know what it's like to wonder, if you're going to get a new customer this week. I know what it's like to have to pay the bills for a bunch of different advertising and marketing that you kind of wonder if it works or if you could cut back and still get the same result. Right? I've been there. I've sat on that side of the table. So I tend to relate well with the people that I work with from that viewpoint. Secondly, I've gravitated towards attorneys because I have worked with some of the big players in the marketplace. Mm-hmm. I used to work for Thomson Reuters, who owns Westlaw, and dealt with hundreds of attorneys while working there. And prior to that, worked for R.H. Donnelly and Dex, who is one of the largest local business advertising agents, and I don't call them an agency, but products and services out there. So I've really got a good cross, experience. I've got a lot of different experiences with attorneys, marketing, advertising, and results across several different mediums. So I've got experience with Yellow Page advertising. I had experience with internet advertising. I've also got some significant experience with television and radio advertising. for attorneys, how it works, and what the benefits and drawbacks are. It was a natural area for me to niche. Now, I do also work with high-level private practice physicians and chiropractors, and I work with high-level contractors. But my main caveat for someone to partner with me is you have to want to be better. If you're someone that feels like you're fine, you're okay, you don't need any help, or you feel like you're a combative person, you've got all the answers, that's not my customer. I'm looking for the guys that say, you know what, I'm really in a place where I want to focus on my business, and I want a turnkey solution to turn on the faucet of new customers. That's the guy I'm looking for.
Oh, that sounds great. That's like a done-for-you service, which is something that's highly in demand today. Would you say there's anything special or different about attorneys, for example, that you help them with, that maybe they have certain obstacles and problems that other business owners don't have?
Attorneys, and again, I relate this to high-level professionals that require licensure and such, they really only have one product that they can sell. That's their time. Right? An attorney bills by the hour. There are only so many hours in the day. And there are only two ways that an attorney can really, three ways rather, that an attorney can increase their income, right? Mm-hmm. They can gain more new clients, okay? They can charge more per hour, right? Or they can do repeat business with their existing clients, right?
Right.
Now, that applies to all businesses, but what happens with an attorney is they run out of time. So if they are working 60, 70 hours a week already, they might not be able to take on another client regardless of how profitable that client will be. So one of the things that we do is we help them get to a position where they can choose the most profitable clients and either refer or delegate the less profitable clients to either a referral partner or an associate.
And how does that work for, so basically you're talking about the smaller or medium-sized firm. Does that also translate when you work with the bigger firms that maybe have 30, 40, 50 partners where they have plenty of manpower and they're just looking for more cases?
It does. It does work with those attorneys, and I've had some very large clients like that. My largest client had an office with 42 attorneys in it. Uh-huh. The main difference with those attorneys are those firms are usually run by a managing board. In other words, it's several people rather than one or two. And I find that working with those firms takes a great deal more effort. And of course, because of that, they tend to be slower in moving on great opportunities. I will work with those attorneys. I can get those attorneys great results, but I am much more interested in the attorney practice that's, 1, 3, 5, up to call it 10 attorneys in an office, right? Where they're looking to just generate a lot of clients and maybe move up to that level. So I would rather build a multi-practice firm than gain a 40-attorney firm. I'll certainly speak with them. I'll certainly talk with them. And there's a lot that I can do for them. But they need to understand before we even work together that it's a much longer process, and that's mostly because of them.
That's interesting. For the attorneys listening to this, I imagine they're curious because of the details about the process that you go through in order to generate new cases and new clients for them. What's the process that you put an attorney through to make his business just that much better?
The main business that I do is I generate quality cases and leads from the internet. I've been doing this for over a decade and really have the unique experience that it takes to gain those quality leads from the web. The internet changes. It's like a river. It flows in one direction constantly. right? So what happens if you throw, a pebble in a stream? Unlike a pond where the ripples kind of go on forever, when you throw a pebble in a stream, the ripples are very small and they are quickly swept away and flattened, right? That's the web. So if you are in a competitive market, for example, I'm in the Phoenix marketplace where there are a ton of attorneys. It's highly competitive. You marketing yourself in that area is an exercise in frustration. I have yet to meet an attorney in this area that I can't help tremendously, regardless of what they're currently doing online. And I work with a lot of attorneys that that have thought they were fine. And, everybody's got their, quote, guy, right?
Right.
Or we have a guy, or we have a service, or we have an agency that does that. Well, when I research the agency, I see that, that agency has like 25 clients, and of those 25 clients, 2 of them are attorneys. And yeah, you're showing okay on a couple of things, but boy, when we dive in and really look at what's behind the scenes of your site, we find that nothing is happening. You're being swept downstream, right? And it's really a constant battle to keep you at the top of the search results. What my company does is it eliminates that issue for you. I've partnered with several top providers. The company I work with for my attorneys exclusively is called Webb's Law. And what we do through Webb's Law is we have specific legal content writers that write all of our content. We have specific legal paid bloggers that write all our blog content, right? So it's not somebody that has ABC marketing agency in Mesa, writing a blog here or a blog there, and you have a beautiful site that looks nice but is never found, right?
So what you're talking about is what they call search engine optimization, or in the layman's term, making it easy to be found when you turn on the computer and you're searching for an attorney in the specific area, like maybe criminal or personal injury or something like that, and you help those guys be easy to be found. Is that correct?
That is correct. And I'm actually glad you brought up the specific area of criminal law. What a lot of my prospects are under the impression of is that they gain a lot of referrals, right? Their satisfied customers will get, will refer people to them. And that may happen to an extent, but there are many, 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 many more people that are going online, researching and searching for what they do than the ones that ask their friends. And when you think about it logically, let's say, for example, that Joe Smith is caught in an internet sex crime scheme, one of those things like you see to catch a pedophile or whatever on TV, right?
Right.
That happens. It happens to real people.
It does.
That person most likely is not going to go to their friends and family and go, hey, I just got busted for trying to solicit an underage, person for sexual relations, and I'm wondering if you know a good attorney, right? That doesn't happen. If it does happen, you might not want that client, right? But what they will do is after hours, after their wife is asleep or after their counterparts or their partners are out of their office, they will search on there, best attorney for sex crimes in Phoenix, attorneys that, have the most innocent judgments for whatever, right? And that's how attorneys are found today. Believe it or not, many of those attorneys are found the same way in the yellow pages. I have criminal defense attorney clients that still make a killing with the right yellow page advertisements.
Oh, I believe that.
The problem with most Yellow Page advertisements is they are done entirely improperly. So what we do is we help them to redesign their ads and such to get the most results for what they get or what they're paying for in that medium. But criminal defense is one of those areas that they still get a lot of good leads from that medium. Of course, second to Google.
Well, I know, and although in recent years probably people look at the telephone book less than they ever did. Because, as a matter of fact, I can't think of the last time I opened one, because now when you're looking for something, you go to the Internet, but it's still a very popular medium. As a matter of fact, the old school ways with telephone books and direct mail and directories and all types of mail are actually becoming more beneficial now. Do you use any of that in your marketing, or is everything strictly online?
No, we consult with that, and I actually get with some of my clients, the official blessing, and it's not a power of attorney, but I am the person that negotiates and plans their media buys. That includes their internet advertising beyond their SEO. It includes things like ad buys in the Yellow Pages, and it includes things like negotiating rates and doing and redoing design.
So part of your
we do it all.
Your process is public relations in
Correct.
addition to marketing. Is that true?
That is true.
That's very interesting. And that's an area that a lot of people don't spend a lot of time in. Is how does public relations fit into your process of making attorneys, for example, stand out in Phoenix?
Well, think of it this way. People like to deal with what I refer to as pillars of the community, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the more your name is out there, the more the impression is that you are one of those pillars of the community. So let's say you have a very prominent legal case where you have, righted a wrong or done justice, etc. You need to publicize that tremendously, right? Not just for the benefits that it's going to give your web presence, but to present yourself favorably in the eyes of the community. That way, when people are searching for you, right, when they are searching for what you do, and they come to your website and they see the little blurb on your website that talks about that successful case, they know immediately, hey, I recognize that. I remember that guy. And I remember thinking, wow, what a professional guy, or wow, that's the third time I've seen this guy do something really great. You're selling your prospect before you even talk to them with public relations. That's what our goal is with it. Other PR firms talk about branding, etc. You can call it what you want. What we do is we sell before the prospect looks for you.
In other words, you're giving them a reason to call them up, or a reason to be that guy or the go-to guy in that specific niche. And I imagine there's so many specific niches in the legal profession, in the medical profession, in the construction position, in the construction profession. Are there any specific niches that you do a better job in than any others?
You mean in each of those areas? Well,
you can just pick one. Let's stay with the attorneys, because that seems to be right now the thrust of your business.
Yeah, with attorneys, I tend to work and gravitate towards very specific practice areas. Okay, my number one is divorce and family law. Number two is criminal defense. Number three is business. Number four is personal injury. Right. Number five is wills, trusts, and estate planning. And number 6 and 7 are really close together, and that's bankruptcy and immigration law. Now, the reason they're ranked in those orders is those just happen to be the areas that I've focused on, I've had the most experience with, that we get a tremendous ROI immediately from. One of the most profitable areas of law is family law. As a matter of fact, it's probably, for a newer attorney, the fastest way to $1 million practice today. Second to that would be criminal law. I just happen to have more criminal defense attorneys than I do family law attorneys in my portfolio, right? So people ask, why isn't personal injury first? Isn't that where the big money is? Absolutely. And conversely, it's the most competitive area of law. There are personal injury search terms that when you are buying pay-per-click advertising cost in excess of $150 per click.
Wow.
Every time someone clicks on it, it costs $150 to be, in that process at that time in that search.
Yeah, but by the same token, with the size of personal injury awards, which could be in the millions of dollars, if you get the right lead, that's okay.
That's absolutely right. I worked with a very, very large personal injury firm in Chicago that I will never forget. Told me that their annual spend just on their internet marketing program was in excess of $100,000. But if they got one case in a year from their website, it was usually more than double, right, what the website costs.
That's a good return on investment.
If I told you give me X, every time you give me X, I will give you 2X, how many times would you give it to me?
As often as I could.
As often as you could, right? So
yeah.
The other issue with personal injury is that because it's competitive, it tends to take a little longer to build, a new prospect into that competitive space. Can we do it? Absolutely. Are we the best at it? I would say that in the markets that we work in, we are at the very top of our game and can take any attorney from zero to hero in a relatively short time.
How do you build up your relationship and trust with your clients? Because people are so skeptical of the internet today because there's so many people who say they're going to do something for you, take your money, and then don't. So what do you...
You know what's funny? I've always been someone that I try and sell with referral selling. And that doesn't always mean I'm referred to customers by other customers. That happens quite a bit. But I always end my presentations with, don't believe what I tell you. Look at what my clients have to say about me. Mm-hmm. And many of them are willing to take your phone call. And when you look and you see what types of testimonials we have on the website and things like that, customers see, and then they go and they look at the attorneys and they go, for example, I have an attorney that I worked with in Milwaukee that was a not workers' comp, but employment law attorney. And I totally forgot to mention that when I talk about the areas that I work with. Employment law is another area that we work very well. I have 2 clients that practice employment law, and they both do exceptionally well with the programs we've put in place with them, because it's another thing that people do a lot of research on. Because let's face it, when you're looking at something when you have a need, like in a criminal defense situation or a divorce situation, or you think that your boss is behaving inappropriately towards you at work, and you think that going to HR might sink your career, right?
Right.
You do a lot of research with that. And what you don't look for is you don't search for things like, I want the cheapest discount attorney in the world, right? In the country. Find me the cheapest lawyer in Phoenix.
Yeah, the dollar store.
Right. The dollar store attorney. And, I equate it a lot of times. And again, the reason why my other main practice areas in private practice physicians, when you're talking about your health and someone's going to perform surgery on you, you don't search for the discount doctor.
You search for who's the best.
Right. You search for the guy that is the best. You put in things like best cardiac surgeon in Arizona, right?
Right.
And some people, if they have the means and the moxie, do the country. That happens all the time. People fly from all over the country to have their operations at the Cleveland Clinic. They go all over. They come from all over the country and the world to have their cancer treatment at the Mayo Clinic.
Correct.
Right? Why do they do that? It's because clearly those are the best. Right? They're the most published. They have the best results. They can put out things like that. It's the same thing with attorneys. It's the same thing with every business. Right? You don't want cheap. You want value. So if I'm a physician that maybe got pulled over for a DUI and I have a chance to have my license suspended for up to 6 months, my attorney's skill is very valuable to me.
Right.
It's probably worth more to me than the guy in Wisconsin where a first DUI isn't even a criminal offense, right? It's probably more important to me than that guy who any attorney basically in Wisconsin can walk through an initial DUI. Right? It's not that difficult.
Correct.
There are other attorneys that are better at fighting those. Well, pretty much any attorney can get it done, right? But when you have the possibility of your DUI costing you 50% of your livelihood for the year, now we're talking high value. With skill comes value. We feel at the AZ Web Guy and with our consulting business and with our partners at Webb's Law, we feel that our skill is valuable and that value is return on investment, because I can give you a very good looking website and make you look beautiful online and such for cheap. As a matter of fact, I can probably teach you in about 30 minutes how to do it yourself. And I see attorneys doing this all the time. Say, if only you would look, and if only you would see that that cheap money, the money that you're spending, is actually being wasted rather than invested, we could change probably your whole paradigm. It's like everything else. Would you dump money into a losing investment, right? How many people bought Enron after they went bankrupt? None.
Right. You know, you talk about
right.
You talk about cookie cutter cheap websites. I come from the construction industry. You know, we were in the glass and glazing business, and I would say 90% of the websites for contractors are all the same. And basically, is there a list of their services and pictures of what they do, and say, next time you need an estimate, call me. And they don't differentiate themselves at all. And I always laugh because I say, why did they even bother posting those websites? Because they're almost worthless.
No, what it is, it's a very fancy online business card. So if that's what you need, that's what we do. But
you take it way
wouldn't you rather make a lot of money? What's that?
You take it way further than that, and you turn the website into a digital asset, and that's what's interesting to me is all the different ways you do that. How many people do you have on your staff in order to provide all these services to attorneys and physicians and contractors?
Well, part of the reason I partner with the best is so that I have access to massive resources. So I can tell you that we have legal writers. We currently have 6. All they do is write legal content full-time. SEO engineers, we just hired 3 more. Right? I think that brings our total to 9, I believe. Designers, and none of our people cross-pollinate on the law side. None of our people cross-pollinate. So the SEO person is not the same person that writes content. The SEO person is not the same person that does graphic design. Every one of my legal websites is full custom design. So that's another thing that makes it quite different than everything else that's out there. If you are going to do a website for an attorney with me, it will be a full custom design if you want it to work. Again, if you just want a presence, we can do a template, but that's rare. So we have a full graphic design team. I think there's 3 of them that all they do is design beautiful, stunning websites.
So you've got a complete A to Z business. I have a question. Let's say that I'm a criminal attorney in Phoenix, and I want to hire you as a businessman. How do I know that you're not working with my competitors, and I'm going to have a hard time standing out against other people I know in my area? Is there any way you limit the number of people that you work with so we don't have that problem?
Joel, I'm so glad you asked that. I will only work with a maximum of 3 attorneys in any practice area. And the reason I do that is because based on our experience and our research into the various metros in the U.S., we are confident that we can adequately perform our services and maintain the best ROI for up to 3. At 4, it starts being watered down a little bit too much. So we will only work with 3.
And that gives them a leg up on maybe the other 50, 100, or whatever number of attorneys there are in the same local area.
Correct. And here's the other big thing. I only work with a maximum of 10 legal areas per metro area. Again, because, you know, a jack of all trades is master of none.
Right.
So we focus exclusively on 10 practice areas. And I gave you the top 7. There's several other ones that are out there that we will work with. But, I mean, we mainly keep it to that just because it's what we know. It's where our expertise is. And again, you know, you could have your regular internist perform your open heart surgery. He is a doctor. He's probably done 1 or 2 of those. But why wouldn't you go to the interventional cardiologist who does 4 a day? Right?
No question about it.
It's the same thing with this.
Do you work primarily by phone, internet, or do you actually include the old-fashioned personal visits in your process for helping attorneys do their marketing?
You know, it depends on where you are, and it depends on what our program is. I have flown across the country to meet with clients and prospective clients, but mainly in-person visits from me are limited to the Phoenix metro area, call it Arizona, right? The state of Arizona, and to a lesser extent, the Chicagoland area and Milwaukee area of the Midwest, because I do have regular clients there.
That's where you're
that
visiting from.
Correct. That's where I or one of my partners, you know, I have a partner that's located right there in the suburbs of Chicago. He or I will meet with them. But, yeah, that's how that works. Now, for example, let's say you're in Los Angeles. After you become a customer, we can schedule in-person meetings. But, you know, for something like that, where we're working out that way, it takes a little bit more, and, you know, there's got to be a pretty serious commitment on both sides before we'll start flying back and forth.
Yeah, well, with the joining of Join.me screen sharing and GoToMeeting and all that,
correct,
probably isn't that necessary anymore.
And, you know, it's funny, even the ones I offer back in the Midwest, where, quite frankly, I have a much heavier client load in the Midwest than I do here because I've only been here 18 months, right? So even though I will fly back for a week at a time and try and schedule visits with everybody, many of them say, you know what, there's nothing we need. We don't need to meet in person. They're like, we can go out for dinner if you want or something while you're here, but, you know, everything's handled. So that's another great thing. I tell people the reason I'm successful is because I have the best clients.
What are some of the biggest obstacles that attorneys and other professional people have in their marketing, things in them mentally that they have to get over in order to make this all work?
There are several things that I think are big obstacles. One is cutting through the chatter. There's a lot of chatter out there. Everybody's coming at them all the time because everybody knows that attorneys spend money to make money. So they're approached with every whiz-bang gadget, you know, whatever system, you know, blah, 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 from every which way. I've had attorneys tell me they literally get 10 to 15 inquiries a day to help them with client generation. 10 or 15 a day.
Wow.
And when you think about it, I mean, that's even in a regular 5-day business week, that's 45 inquiries a week. Now, imagine if they had 45 like client inquiries a week. They'd probably be pretty happy, right?
I would think so.
And it's very easy to see the ones that are and the ones that aren't. And what I tell people is you can tell by the depth and breadth of their marketing. You know, we had an attorney back in the Chicagoland area that was a relatively well-known bankruptcy attorney.
Mm-hmm.
And he is on every commercial, like every, third commercial is his. He sends them a special information packet, et cetera, et cetera. He's on billboards. He's in the yellow pages. He is everywhere. You cannot, be looking for bankruptcy in anywhere in the Chicagoland or Milwaukee area without knowing this particular attorney. Now, I don't mention his name just because I don't like to give people who aren't my clients free publicity, but you'll know this guy, right? When you see him, you'll know him. And here's a hint. He doesn't have a multi-million-dollar business. He doesn't have multiple homes. He doesn't drive one of several Bentleys because he's got a glowing, wonderful, energetic, and entertaining personality. When you see him on television, he looks like the most boring, monotone, Ben, Stein type voice guy. He's not entertaining. He's not engaging, but you can get his free info tapes. And I show people that example all the time. Here's a guy that's a multimillionaire that laughs all the way to the bank.
And it's all based on marketing and constant promotion.
I can tell you that when I was operating a lot in Wisconsin, there is a personal injury attorney in Wisconsin that every other personal injury attorney just hates his ads. Think they're it's low class and blah blah blah. And he's another guy that laughs all the way to the bank. He gets one of the most famous athletes in the country, certainly the most famous athlete in Wisconsin, to partner with him on all kinds of things. And he makes a killing. Be that guy. You don't have to be cheesy, but that's proof that the marketing works. So
if we had one big takeaway for the hopefully a lot of attorneys and other businessmen who are listening to this, what would you tell them that the most important, or one of the most, there's a lot of things, one of the most important things they have to do to increase their market and the awareness to be the go-to guy in their industry or their field?
That's easy. Meet with a marketing specialist. Not an ad salesperson, not a professional victimizer. Have someone come in, analyze your practice, analyze your marketing, look at what's working and what's not, and give you a proposal for improving. If you go to the doctor once or twice a year for a checkup, right? You do that so you can prevent disasters from happening in your body. Why would you not do the same thing for your business?
No, you're 100% right. If people wanted to find out more about Jerry Luciano and your business and your practices, what's the easiest and fastest way for them to contact you?
The easiest and fastest way is for them to go to www.jerryluciano.com, which will forward them directly to my marketing website. And when the pop-up comes up for more information, put their information in and get their free web analysis. That web analysis has a $297 value. It is not a simple plug and play. It's actually a pretty significant in-depth analysis of your entire online presence. And it's worth your while to get, no matter what you're thinking of doing, but certainly for a checkup on your business.
So that's www.jerryluciano.com for a real nice professional evaluation of where you're at currently and where you need to go. Jerry, thank you very much. This has been very useful and very valuable, and I really appreciate you taking your time to be on Main Street Mavericks Radio today. Thank you very much. I wish you continued good luck, success, and health in your business, and hopefully you're going to find those best clients with the best cases so everybody can make a lot of money.
Joel, thanks so much, and thanks for having me on the show.
Oh, you're welcome, and I always sign off. I tell everybody, have a little fun today. Don't save it up. Thanks a lot. Bye.
You've been listening to Main Street Mavericks Radio with Joel Helfer. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit mainstreetmavericks.com.